welcome everyone to once again another episode of the Hot Seat Podcast. And in this episode is all about WWE Night of Champions, which just concluded. Of course, we're still dealing with the feast right here for Memorial Day weekend, and a lot more is to come for Sunday to end things with basically the meat and potatoes of the whole entire weekend. So last time it was about Impact Wrestling with Under Siege, and I actually was able to have a bit of a debut on Kick. So if you aren't checking me out on Kick, which is basically like Twitch, you can check me out on there. So there's a lot more to be able to be dealt with when it comes to watching the In the Hot Seat podcast and looking to expand as well. So really cool. So you'll be able to see this very episode. Basically pre-recorded, obviously, until I get used to things being live eventually at some point, but I'm having fun here at dealing things with StreamYard and being able to not only deal with the other platforms, but be able to get more used to it being on Kick. So definitely continue to support there as well. I already have some followers and made some connections as of right now, which is really cool. So really like the vibes on Kick for the time being. So definitely check out the link as always for the link tree for all of the Nahasi podcast socials and my main ones as well. But let's get right down into it. What happened for Night of Champions? I thought it was actually pretty good overall as a whole. And again, they're back. They were back in Jeddah for Saudi Arabia, and they started things off kind of like a throwback, if you want to put it this way, with the World Heavyweight Championship being brought back with a whole new design and being able to have a tournament and a part of that was Seth Rollins and AJ Styles in the finals, and see who will be able to be World Heavyweight Champion. And a really cool back and forth match, definitely a banger, and a really awesome, dope start for Night of Champions, the return of Night of Champions, normally in September, around the fall time now, around closer to the summertime, basically, slash springtime. So it's really cool to have Night of Champions back. These two are able to have a war with one another. Could have went to either one. We had one from SmackDown, one from Raw, so it made sense to have Seth Rollins be the winner, be awarded the World Heavyweight Champion by Triple H, and he's won that world title as well numerous times before. So to see that continue the lineage as well with all the cool names that has won the world title, so basically a restart. The title looks really good, and I'm curious to see who Seth Rollins will be able to face next. And it's going to be really interesting. I'm happy that the world title is on Raw. We got the Universal title on SmackDown. Maybe we'll have a new look for that title as well. But that's what happened and how things started for Night of Champions. So really cool and enjoyable stuff. And then they kept things going hot, and as well keeping things going, of course, with the women. With this one, with Trish Stratus coming back, being able to deal with Becky Lynch. They had an altercation a while back, but actually, I really jump-started things, especially when they were dealing with the teaming with one another at WrestleMania. Things went for a turn. Trish Stratus basically having the old-school heel Trish and everything. So it was like Trish Stratus never left. At one point, I felt like Becky Lynch was going to actually get a win, and I really liked the ring attires, especially for both of them as well. Trish Stratus having her trademark colors. Becky Lynch basically have Kill Bill vibes, which is really cool to be able to see that with her ring attire. And an interesting turn of events where we had what I thought was Trish Stratus looking for a weapon of some kind, but we actually had some help with Zoe Stark, which is really cool. So helping out Trish Stratus, it looks like those two are going to be maybe a women's tag team. I can probably see that because Trish Stratus is able to get her win and defeat Becky Lynch. I'm sure they'll be able to continue things then whenever Lita comes back. She could be paired back with Becky Lynch, have that going, and that could be interesting, especially for the women's tag team titles. And I'm sure that would be a matchup between those two teams at some point. That would be really cool, especially the women's tag team titles. Basically, in the way in trouble of not dealing so well, especially with teams either getting injured and all that stuff. So I would like to see a lot more for the women's tag team. So it looks like this is more of that continuation of a jumpstart, getting more tag teams and everything. That's what I got out of that. So Tag team I never knew I wanted with Trish Stratus and as well as Zoe Starks. That's going to be really very interesting and very intrigued by that. So that's going to be fun to check out. And then we got into the Intercontinental Championship match where we had Gunther dealing with Mustafa Ali. Really cool to be able to have Mustafa Ali out there, being able to go at it for the Intercontinental Championship. And I feel like he always should have had a lot more going for him since he hasn't really done it far too much as he should have been up until this point. And we did have the rest of the Imperium there. Didn't really seem far too bothered by Mustafa Ali and everything. He came really close to actually stopping Gunther, but Gunther actually able to stand tall and keep his Intercontinental Championships. Not really mad about that, so maybe this feud will actually continue. Hopefully, we'll see Mustafa Ali in this uh, basically a big card picture and everything for a long time coming. He definitely deserved that for sure. And then we get into for the Raw Women's Championship. Still kind of confusing on how things transpired for the main Women's Championships being on opposite brands and everything. I almost forget who's where. So it is still on SmackDown for the Raw Women's Championship, basically. So it's kind of confusing. I don't know how they're going to actually sort things out besides dealing with a lame swap, which we don't really need that. So I'm sure they'll find a way to actually change things. But this one dealing with Bianca Belair and as well Asuka. Bianca Belair has basically been unstoppable for a long time, and having Asuka with her new, basically returning gimmick, if you want to put it this way, being able to be dealing with the clown and as well the murder clown, if you want to put it that way. On that being psycho and everything, which is really crazy to actually see her in this role. I've never seen that before, so being able to see that most recently has been very cool to be able to see that and being basically vicious and everything. Bianca Belair coming back as well, basically trying to keep her title, being vicious of her own, and being able to see who will be able to stand tall and basically could have went really either way with this one too, but actually Asuka getting the Raw Women's Championship, not really mad at that. I would like someone from Raw actually winning the Raw Women's title, but that's fine. We'll see what happens definitely for sure. What's next would be Bianca Belair, let alone Asuka, and seeing who she will be able to face next. And then we get into the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Basically dealing with Rhea Ripley from Raw and as well as Natalya on her birthday, no less, and unfortunately losing within seconds, basically, to Rhea Ripley, making a point that she doesn't want to let go of that SmackDown Women's Championship, which is sad and unfortunate for Natalya being able to lose so fast like that. Would have liked to see more competitive side between the two and everything, since I think that would have been pretty much fun. So I don't know what's going to be happening next, but Rhea Ripley looking to be unstoppable and continue things with the championship reign. And then we get to the rematch, Brock Lesnar and as well for Cody Rhodes on this one. Cody Rhodes actually getting the win the last time. So Brock Lesnar was doing everything that he can to make sure Cody Rhodes doesn't actually get to do that. And which is really interesting to see how things transpired and how Cody Rhodes was able to try and get a win the best that he could. We see the crossroads a couple of times, obviously the F5, and both men, Brock Lesnar more getting frustrated and eventually grabbing the arm of Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes unfortunately being forced to give up in this case. The actual ring bell going crazy for the first time in a while. I like that. Hopefully that stays around. I think that's a cool added touch that we haven't seen quite too much. But Brock Lesnar being able to get his win. So we'll see how Cody Rhodes can be able to continue his story and looking to be world champion. So now that the world title is on Raw and everything, so I'm sure Cody Rhodes will be looking to win that at some point. But we'll see how Cody Rhodes can eventually move on from Brock Lesnar if they have yet again another match. That remains to be seen. And then we get into the tag team titles main event. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens dealing with Roman Reigns and as well as Solo Sikoa on this one. And being able to have Roman Reigns looking to be winning all the championships, since the Usos didn't really get the job done. And as well, speaking of the Usos, we also did get to see them get involved, but with the twist in a way on this one, eventually breaking away from Roman Reigns with the kick and everything. Some basically having the Usos back on their own. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns dealing with their frustrations with both Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa on this one, basically having the downfall for the bloodline and having Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn actually keeping the tag team title. So I was kind of worried if they were going to lose or not. So I was hoping they weren't going to lose and they kept the tag team titles. So not only that, the Usos are basically on their own. Is this permanently? I don't know. Maybe they're going to try and still work things out with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Is Solo Sikoa actually going to eventually go fed up and tired of Roman Reigns and him actually leaving Roman Reigns, and it'll be just Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman? So there was a lot to unpack there, especially from the main event for Night of Champions. So that's everything in a nutshell and what happened. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? I'd love to hear your feedback. As always, if you're watching on the YouTube version, leave a like, subscribe, and as well hit the notification bell. And I always appreciate the support, as always, for everything, as always, within the Hot Seat podcast. So that about does it for this episode. I will be back, of course, for NXT Battleground and AEW Double Nothing. That'll probably be both together on that, since they're both on at the same time for tomorrow. So a lot more as always. So with that being said, I'll catch everyone next time, most likely tomorrow, if not Monday, for the next episode of In the Hot Seat.